source.
That why do we feel so pushed to destroy our own?
The neighbor down the street could beat my butt just the same way my mom could.
Well, if I'm facing racism, if I'm facing harassment, if I'm facing whatever, where do we go?
Look at the Legislative Black Caucus and what they're doing.
How do we do EV in the city?
Now, 2024 is going to be a very busy year, and we're going to try to keep you as up to date as possible.
They didn't wait a whole month to do this. They did it immediately because white privilege speaks. People listen. Good evening. This is Dr. Curry.
This is Kobe Owen.
Shanae Darby.
And welcome to The Source. This week we are coming back from a little vacation, as we would call it, of not really being here. I know last week we did do our first show again with you all here, and I'm very grateful for that. But something happened this week as it relates to the shooting on Tuesday. A 19-year-old and a 14-year-old female was shot on Maryland Avenue, and I guess that's how we always open up our source, talking about any of the crime that may have happened in the city. Any updates on that?
Yeah, so there hasn't been too much information that has come out so far about that shooting over in the Browntown area off of Maryland Ave, but it happened around 3:25 p.m. Over there. Again, they were both taken to the hospital in stable condition, but over the past week alone, there's been 3 different shootings, leaving 4 people wounded. No one died, thank God. But again, we're seeing an uptick right now. We have 37 shootings so far, with 43 victims, whether they were fatally shot or in stable condition.
Yeah. Now, how does that line up with previous? I know that's an off the cuff question, but are we down in our shootings or same?
So we are down just a little bit,
Okay.
compared to where we were to date last year, but it's only by a small margin. We're only off of the number wounded by 2.
Okay.
And we're only off the number of incidents by 1. We have matched how many individuals who have been killed.
Wow.
Has been matched already.
Wow. Well, I just hope and trust that. Do you feel as city council person that our chief is doing something different, or I don't want to put you on the spot, but does anybody feel that maybe the chief is doing something different to help at least combat it a little bit? How are we feeling in that area?
With policing?
Yeah.
Well, for me, it's not about individuals
Okay.
who sit in seats as the chief of police, right? I think it's a structural thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think our chief, he is doing some different initiatives with community engagement teams, but that's not hitting the structural inequities or oppression that exists for poor and Black communities. So for me, no, you're not going to see a drastic change. You'll see some new programs, some new initiatives, but you're not going to see drastic change because we're not addressing the core issue.
Okay.
Which is the system.
Okay.
Like, we have to break those things down. So for me, I'm going to say no, but is he applying different programs? Like, he started the community engagement team where he's 2 or 3 officers for each sector or whatever, and they're supposed to just respond to quality of life things and not just calls, but driving around, getting out the car, doing those things. So that is a new initiative that he did start, and he's focused on mental health for the police officers. They got a dog. The dog is supposed to be helping with stress levels, which I think these are all great things, but is it really going to address the core issues? Nah, it looks good. It looks good.
It was a start.
It's
It's a start,
it looks good.
and you said, but your issue more is structure, the
Yeah.
structural things,
Yep.
right? But okay, so in essence, then overall, we can say at least he's doing some new initiatives, and as we deal with addressing the structure of it, and I guess that's a bigger conversation because when you're dealing with the structure of what has occurred over years and been permitted as well as and other things, sometimes it's hard to bring a real change. Something very disturbing happened this week as well. I think Tuesday was just an interesting day around I guess it was around 3 o'clock in the afternoon. There was a news break where the neighborhood house leadership found that their bus had been destroyed. And what bothered me is that when I was sitting there looking at it, is that it was done by those individuals. We don't know where they did. To my understanding, they did arrest one person, one juvenile already, and they may have done more since by the time we have the airing of this. But what's bothering me is a couple things bother me. Let me just go one by one. Is that why do we feel so pushed to destroy our own?
Mm.
That's a problem for me. I mean, I hear you fighting for more. I hear you trying to bring justice but why do we feel the need to destroy our own?
For me, I'm always going back to structural and historically what has happened in our communities, right?
Mhm,
If you don't feel like you're a part of a community, right? If you don't feel that neighborly love, if you don't feel like investment is happening in your community, you're not connected to it in
mhm,
any way. They're not connected to that bus and the purpose of that bus,
mhm,
right? So they're going to destroy it.
mhm,
I feel like decades ago we had a lot more connection to our community
mhm,
in regards to you knew your neighbors, or you would hear people say like, "Oh, the neighbor down the street could beat my butt just the same way my mom could," right? So you had those community connections. You had investment with Black folks in the community, and concerned about education, all these things. I don't think we have those things anymore due to some of our own issues that we're having, and then some outside entities that impacts our communities to where we are today, where we have no connection to our community. We don't. I probably could tell you only two neighbors on. I live on my block across the street. A lot of us don't talk to each other anymore, right? That those things aren't happening. Kids aren't going outside playing like they used to. My kids want to watch kids play on YouTube.
mhm.
You go do what they're
Right, right, yeah.
like, it's totally different. Like we're evolving, and I think it's connected to that. If you don't feel connected to that community or to the purpose of whatever that thing is, you don't care about it.
Yeah, I can't remember the person who quoted this. Was it? It may have been Sterling Brown or one of them that said that we've been hoodwinked. I think a lot of it has to do with we've been sold out by so many of our leaders that because at one
Mm,
point you're right, we did have a connection to the community that we lived in. If there were to be some crime, it would be done outside of our community because everybody knew us. Everybody knew everybody. So it's like, okay, we knew that was John or Rob or whomever else. But I think we really run into some structural issues with even within our own community. One of the things that I did as a pastor in this community, because it happened for those of you, just to make sure you understand, and Jay was good for making sure we gave him a clear understanding of what we're talking about, is that just this week, the neighborhood house here in South Bridge, they have a bus where they transport children back to various events, activities, try to bring culture to life to children outside of the community. And they use this bus in order to do that. And some person, a young person, according to the video, which you will see in a second, according to the video, they just ramshacked the bus. They destroyed it, broke all the windows out, tore up all the seats. It was just really hard to watch and see. But I immediately, as the pastor, not as Dr. Curry, who has a CDC or a daycare in this community, but as a person who's supposed to be the religious and spiritual leader, one of the spiritual leaders here, I decided that I would tell our community outreach person to go call them and see how we can use our equipment to make sure that these young people still go and do their swimming, still go and do their trips and things of that nature. Because at some point, regardless of some of the anger, and this is just something, this is a lesson for those of you who are watching us, some of the anger that I had with some of the neighborhood house people, of how they really ramshacked and went against our programs. We cannot afford to hold grudges when we have young kids involved. I don't care about my differences that I may have with certain members in this community. I am interested to see what Hanifa is going to do since she thinks she owns Southbridge. I do want to see what she's going to do. But beyond that, I just think that we need to make sure. So we offered our facility, not only facilities, but we also offered our buses so that we can make sure these young people still, and to my understanding, they have accepted that offer. And we're going to make sure they get the trips that they were supposed to get while the neighborhood house is trying to figure out how they're going to do it. But I wanted to ask that question to you all because I'm just concerned that we just ramshacking our own, we destroying our own, and what do we have if we don't have our own? So
I agree with you.
yeah, I don't know, but I'll leave it there and just simply say I hope and trust that somebody will also remember, if you have a bus, if you have a van, that maybe you can lend your support to the neighborhood house. They have a lot of trips scheduled for, I think they have 40 children in their summer program. And if you can help, maybe 1 week, they do it every week, but maybe 1 week you can lend your bus, your van, so that they can, and with a driver, so they can still make the trips that they said they were going to make, and to make sure that our children's lives are augmented. Because to have something and not help somebody else, it really voids who we are. But let me move to one more thing before we go to our break. I want to just say to the people who are watching us that so much is happening with violence, so much is happening within our communities. Where do we go for relief? Later on in the show, I'm going to talk a little bit about the Terezes again, but I just need to know, where do we go? And I'm going to close it. If y'all want to say anything on it, as a matter of fact, it's a question. Where do we go for relief as a part of this community? If I'm facing racism, if I'm facing harassment, if I'm facing whatever, where do we go?
We have nowhere to go. There's not an organization. That's for Black folks.
Well, I don't know if there's not an organization. There are some organizations, but the problem is, are they able to be heard?
No, they don't have the power. They don't have the resources. They're not organized.
Okay.
They can't even hold their own self accountable.
Mm.
So how they gonna be able to support a community? So we have Black organizations. So when I say we have Black organizations, we have them, but they're not doing things that they don't have the structure or resources or people who are really willing to really be on the ground and fight for Black folks. The accountability piece is not going to happen. We don't have it. I'm looking for it too and haven't found it yet.
I just feel sorry if somebody is in need. How are we going to help them?
That's exactly what I've been thinking about the last few weeks. There's no help out here.
But you do a lot of work here and across the country. Do you find this level of apathy everywhere, or do you not see it as apathy?
It's some.
Okay.
It's some. I think there's work being done, but of course it's never enough for everyone. I think you have people who are trying to make a difference, but then you also have individuals who just want to throw bombs.
Oh yeah.
And who have derailed our progress, right? You look at the Legislative Black Caucus and what they're doing. You have people in power, right, who instead of doing what they're supposed to be doing, they want to go after organizations and try to tear them down. It's a sad thing that keeps happening here in Delaware, and people think that they're standing up and fighting for the right thing, but really they're fighting to uphold white supremacy. So
that's interesting.
That's kind of what's happening right now in Delaware, and this is why we have so many issues, right? And I'm going to talk about it a little later, about what happened in Newark, right?
Okay.
We keep having incidents like that, but then you have individuals introduce a bill that would protect the individuals who are committing these crimes, right? So, and harming our community, who are being deterrents to our community. So we have a lot of work to do.
Yeah, well, I didn't bring it up to make it to just create a problem. I brought it up because at the end of the day, there's a lot of people who are hurting, and a lot of people are not being heard, and we have to find some outlets. I'm gonna go ahead and take a commercial break, and we're gonna come back with Shanae's on the street and let her share some of her concerns, not concerns, but some of the issues that she wants to bring up. We'll be right back. And we're back. Now we're going to have that exciting time of the show. Let's hear what Shanae got to say.
Yeah, sure. So my first update, I know I promised last week to give an update on some of the progress with the NAACP work that we've been doing. I know on a branch level, we had a special meeting a few weeks ago. We had about 25 to 30 people who showed up, and we also had sponsors there. So everyone who was there who didn't have a membership, we got a membership. I'm really looking to have new people at the table who want to be involved, but who have been blocked from being involved in the NAACP for decades.
Is it the Wilmington chapter?
Yeah, from the Wilmington, specifically I'm talking about the Wilmington chapter, for the who have been blocked from participating on the Wilmington and on the Wilmington branch. So, and also I'm also reaching out to people who are lifetime members or who are members and trying to get them to say, hey, we're trying something new here, but there's a lot of reluctancy because of past history and what has happened with the stronghold that the current president, Charles Brittingham, has on the Wilmington branch, and then the lack of accountability from other people who are a part of the NAACP that they have not put on the Wilmington branch. So we're currently working on sending up a letter for investigation to happen on the Wilmington branch. I've been in conversations with the national, and also I just started getting in contact with some other state leaderships who serve on NAACP. And what a lot of the issues or concerns that the Wilmington branch people had, we were able to get it addressed through those people. So what I'm finding out on leadership, on the leadership team for the state level committee, there are different people who's willing to share things, and there are other people who are not. Right, so now I have my contacts with people who are willing to be transparent, who are willing to provide the information we need. So we were able to get all of our concerns addressed. We have the Wilmington branch. We have a contact on the state committee who's willing to send us the dates of when they meet, send us the links, then keep us up to date on what's happening on a state level. Beforehand, I've been requesting that, and it has not been given to me. So Wilmington branch members were concerned that we weren't being a part of the process because that information wasn't given to us when we requested several times.
Right now, do you have like the names of those who are part chapter? Like I redid my membership when I saw that there was going to be a new. I'm a life member, but I redid my Wilmington. Will you be able to look to see if everybody is on that list that needs to be? Will you be able to get that information?
Yeah, so I can't get access to the list because I'm not on the branch executive committee yet. So once we're on that committee, we have access to the list of people who are the 200, it's like 250 members somewhere. And I'm like, where are these 250 members? Like, I know the amount, but I can't have access to the list, and the current executive committee is not going to give that to me.
Now, is there going to be an election where you can get on, or how does that work?
What happens is after the investigation, there will be a special election. And that special election would then hopefully remove the current team, and then new people can run. So I'm not even looking to be on the executive committee. There are so many people out here who have been trying to get involved, but since they're not a part of a circle, they can't get involved. Like when I wasn't a part of the circle, I had to fight to get in. And that's what other people are experiencing. And some people either gave up, went other places, started doing other things because there's a tight-knit circle. And it's unfortunate because it's not even just the older people, it's some of the people who are my age group or younger who are just upholding systems and participating in it and not allowing other people to participate. So that's been my problem or issue, is like there are so many, because people are like, oh, no one wants to be involved. It's so hard to find participants. I literally signed up 25 new people at one meeting. 25 new people, and that's just in the meeting. I've been able to sign up more people because I'm like selling it to them, like, yo, like we need a strong Wilmington branch, and then once we have a strong Wilmington branch, then we can hold the state accountable, because there's a lot of things that they've been missing on and haven't been doing. But what we're focused on is the Wilmington branch and building that membership up, getting new people to be part of leadership. We're not looking for the same old people that continue who wants to keep having all these leadership titles just to say they have leadership titles in different organizations. So I'm hoping that the new people who are joining, who are passionate, who wants to be involved, who have the same experiences I do, that they're able to take on leadership experiences. Now, if nobody wants it and I'm called to do it, I'll do it, because that's I have accepted my calling about a year ago, okay? I used to run against it, but this is just naturally, people just want me to be in leadership positions, and I'm learning to accept it. But I want to make sure as a leader that I'm pushing other people to be leaders.
Absolutely.
And that's true leadership. Leadership is not you always being in the forefront and having your name out there or having these titles. So that's like my goal in regards to this, and then having good people, and then I hold them accountable too. Y'all ain't doing it right, I'm holding y'all accountable
but
too.
Can I just jump in for just a second and say that when I was talking earlier about where do we go, I want to agree in this, and I'm glad that we're focused on a chapter right now. Because if we have in the city of Wilmington, with all of the different things that are going on, I was taught this before I go where I was going to go. I was taught this: you need two entities in the black community in order to be successful. I was taught this. I'm from Philadelphia. We had the black clergy of Philadelphia, which I'm still a member, and we had the NAACP. Mayor Good will tell you he got elected, not just as the first black mayor, but because we came together and said this is going to happen. And no one can sell anyone out. Now, the reason why I'm hopeful that with the 25 and the whatever else, that we get leadership in that will be strong, because with some of the struggles that we're facing, we need in the city of Wilmington. I can't deal with the state right now. There's a whole lot going on in the state. But right now in the city of Wilmington, we need a real NAACP.
I agree. We need strong leadership, and we need new people. I'm tired of seeing the same people in leadership. I'm over it. Like,
well, if you get new people, then they will see the deficiency that we already have.
Yep.
It's not producing. And you said his name, and I don't get into names anymore, but I'm not going to act like I'm scared to. I stopped participating in Wilmington because there was no ever a chapter there.
Right.
I went state automatically because I saw the work that Mouse and them was doing, so I just needed to join in and help. But if we get the city right, then we can move and make other things right. But right now, if we can focus in on getting the city right, and I really do hope and pray that we have because then someone will speak up and some ministers will get together, even if it's not IMAC. Because I got to a place where sometimes you just need new and fresh and next.
Yes.
And we need a strong minister circle, and I don't need to lead it. I just need to be a part of it.
That's it.
As we find ways to get stronger. So I don't want to take away your time today, but thank you. That's a good update, and I hope to hear that more work is being done, and it's because I can't wait to hear about the election, because I want to make sure I'm available to vote.
So as the progression happens, I will keep everyone up to date on what we're doing. But we got everything addressed on the state end. We have a contact who's willing to be transparent and communicate with us. And then now on a branch level, we're just working on this letter to start the investigation, which is like an Article 10 or something that we're doing.
I got you.
So it's no secret, like at all. It's happening. But the next thing, last night we had a city council meeting, and 2 conversations we had was about rent escrow accounts and then the EV chargers. Now with the rent escrow account, we currently have that on the books already, where someone can contact the city can hold the rent, and then they also can do repairs. They can either contract it out or the city can do it. Councilmember McCoy is actually working on revamping this legislation, making some amendments, because there are some issues with it, right? So it is in violation of the Delaware's landlord-tenant code, which says you can only withhold like 3/4 of your rent or something, or $400, or it's like a certain amount, right? You can't withhold the whole amount. Our legislation was saying you can, so it was in conflict with the state. So we're trying to make sure that it reflects and it doesn't violate the Delaware Landlord-Tenant Code. So I know that process is happening too. But one of my main concerns with the legislation that has been removed is the part where the repairs can happen, right? So Councilmember McCoy completely removed that, and their argument from the law department is that it's in violation of the Delaware Landlord-Tenant Code, but nowhere in the Landlord-Tenant Code so far, what I have read, states that you can't use escrow money to pay for repairs.
Right. So did they give you that? Did they tell you? They said it was in conflict, but did they give it to you?
I've been asking. I've been requesting. And it
What do
hasn't
you
been
mean
given
by use escrow money to pay for the repairs? Are you talking about the money that goes into the account for the landlord to be able to access that to make the repairs? Or what do you mean by that?
Right. So they're really not what I mean, but what what it currently states is that if the city collects escrow money, whatever amount it is, if the landlord does not fix within a certain period of time, they can now fix the repair, or they can contract it out to get the repair fixed. So that is currently what's
and the
on
money
the
comes
books.
from the money comes from
The
the
money
escrow
comes from the escrow
of that
account.
person. Okay.
Yep. So
That's-
that's from the escrow money. They can take that money and do the repair. That's what it says currently, right? They're taking that part completely out, which I think is a game changer, right? I think one of our primary focuses is keeping people in their homes, right? That's my focus for escrow, is keeping people in their homes. How do we keep people? There's a lack of affordable housing in the city of Wilmington. Most people who leave their home today, it takes so long just to find another rental, and then a livable, decent one. It's hard to find in the city of Wilmington. How do we keep people in their homes? If the landlords aren't willing to do it, then I think the legislation should still allow the city to be able to do it, to prolong that person's stay in that house. Right? We don't have affordable housing we don't have a lot in Wilmington. Well, Delaware, period, it's an issue. So that's just my issue with the legislation. So I'm gonna keep pushing back on that point. Hopefully we can get it back into the legislation, or they can show me specifically where is the violation.
Okay.
So that's some of my issues. And the EV charging. So on a state level, shout out to Senator Sarah McBride. She got legislation passed for us to for EV charging stations to be approved.
Tell me what is an EV?
Electric vehicle.
And I just got one.
You just got one.
And I'm loving it.
Yes. So I'm
my
excited.
gas bill. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. My gas bill went plummeting. I think I spent no money because I charged it up in my own house, and I've been riding around just like a free willy.
Yeah, but your electric bill gonna go up.
It didn't go up. That's what I tell you. It
Your
didn't
electric
go
bill
up.
gonna go up.
I just said my daughter turn the light off now. She wanted to turn the light off
The
before.
lights off.
Now
all lights all off.
yeah, all lights off.
You only
but
need
you know
lights
what's
on in
funny?
the
A
summer.
supercharger only cost me $4. I tried it. I wanted to see to do a supercharge at Wawa, and it was only $4 as opposed to a fill up would have been $100 and some dollars.
Yeah. No, I love it.
loving
I
it.
think
I'm loving it.
we have to move to that direction.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for that piece.
Yeah.
But the city now has to be in compliance and come up with a process for the city. So I think Dover, Newark, and Wilmington were the 3 cities that were impacted, where we have to come up with a policy or process to how do we do EV in the city. Like, it's very different, especially for the city. We're dense.
Right.
People fight over cones. Being reserved in spaces like parking. Like, sometimes I come home, if I'm not home by like 6, 7 o'clock, I know I'm not parking in front of my house. I have to literally park around the corner and walk, right? And now that my kids are older, it doesn't bother me. But beforehand, I was dragging with the car seat, trying to get into the house with my steps. But so it's a little bit better now. But it is frustrating as a homeowner or someone who lives in the city with the lack of parking. However, with this, it doesn't require, with the process they're coming with, there's so many issues, right? EV owners currently are saying this is like an anti-EV legislation in the process, because they said it makes it really hard. There's some criminal penalties for like different things in regards to the process that they can go to jail for. There's some civil things. It's just too punitive. And they're saying that a lot of people aren't even going to want to buy EVs and live in the city because it's so anti-EV and so like a lot of restrictions and regulations in there. And then another issue for me was that I was concerned if there were going to be reserved parking or not, but it won't be reserved because my thing is we don't need any more reserved parking.
Right.
I get handicapped, all right, you disabled, you're a senior, you need that, got it. I'm okay with that moral thing in my head, but just because you got an EV and I don't like it.
I'm not going to talk to you.
Just I don't believe in that. And really, I think right now, since it's not, one day it will be affordable for everybody. Like, it will be the norm. But right now, it's between the have and the have-nots. Who can have the EVs and not have the EVs.
I think that my EV was a little bit cheaper than my regular car.
Okay, if you say so.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
But then you got to know what the regular car is. But okay.
Yeah, you got a regular car in. So most people can't afford a car.
I understand.
Most people can't afford a car.
But one of the things y'all may want to think about, and I'll just say this to you because you're a city council person, or you may run one day too, is that maybe you should think about all these nonprofits y'all have, like churches and nonprofits, Cal Center. You need to say, as a part of your nonprofit status, we want you to put 3 EV charging stations in your lots.
So the
Okay.
federal government's doing that currently right now.
Oh, are
EPA has offered a grant, and the Department of Energy
Okay.
has offered a grant to come in, not only to do EV charging for regular cars, but also a part of going greener and being greener. A lot of these larger community centers have buses and stuff like that. They're offering to come in and pretty much take your old bus, the gas diesel guzzler, right, and put in a charging station for you, do all the mapping for it, put in a charging station, and give you an electric bus or a hybrid bus, depending on the needs that need to be met in your area, right? So say you're at a community center, but you don't have a space to have an electric charger, then they'll get you a hybrid bus. That's what they're trying to do right now, and a lot of organizations are applying for it. The issue is state regulations also have to meet where the federal government is on that as well.
Yeah, and what was really disrespectful, though, about this whole process is that the administration been working on it, and the deadline is July 1st. They didn't present it to us literally until like 2 days ago. Right? And it was like, yeah, vote on this in 2 days. And I'm like, gosh, I like to be prepared for my meeting, so I'm like trying to read through it to understand it. And the fact that they didn't even come to us to say, what do you believe that the process is? There should have been a work group beforehand. So a lot of us are stated that we want a work group to happen to be able to work out some of the kinks within the legislation. So it would have been, in a perfect world, we would have had a working group first with EV owners, community people, different people who would be impacted by this, and then to transition into a process. No, the administration came up with a process, gave it to us, and told us to vote. But
Did y'all vote?
They did vote on it last night at the committee meeting, so it did pass out. But however, we made an amendment. So the amendment basically states there has to be a work group, and the work group must come up with new recommendations by January 1st of 2024.
Okay.
So this work group has about 6 months to come up with some recommendations. But that is just the disrespect they have for like city council. Like y'all just gonna give it to us at the last minute.
It works. It works.
That's what works.
So I'm gonna keep doing what works.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep and then we're gonna be past July 1st anyway, because the next city council meeting is after July 1st. So we could have still just set up a work group and then came back with a new process, but they're not that bold to go against the mayor.
Well, I ain't gonna start nothing. I
But
hear you. Last
and
week
then-
on your list, I know you're finished for the day, but we only got 2 minutes to give you. But last week you had put up the nomination of, you said presidential nomination Cornell West, and I was just interested in your thoughts because I'm not a psychologist, but I like to read people's psyche and see what's going on.
What you think I think?
You probably want to endorse him, but let's let's hear just 2 minutes if you don't mind. I don't know what you were thinking, so I just wanted to see
I
where
just
you are.
wanted to have open conversation about it. But when he announced to run for president, I was kind of like,
Yeah.
that's somebody I would
Yeah.
probably support, you know,
Yeah.
because I am not in support of any of the current Republican or Democratic nominees. I'm not a fan of any of them. So like his third party bid, and I wish we lived in a country where third party matters, right? But I know it doesn't. But a part of me knows that both sides are wrong. I'm just being
I'm with
frank.
you. I'm in agreement.
Both sides are wrong.
I'm with
I don't
you.
want to be a part of none of this, okay? I think we need to get rid of this two-party system, but we're not, because Democrats hold a lot of power in our state, in our city, and they hold a lot of power nationally. So either party doesn't want to give up their power, their money, their resources, and all their assets. So we're never really going to get rid of the two-party system because of those parties and their greed and not wanting other people to have the opportunity to run or giving people the option. Most people don't want to be, most black folks are not okay with being Democrat. Most people are knocking on doors, especially young people. They feel like they have to be Democrat. Not because they want to be, they have to be Democrat because the other option is a Republican.
Well, a good example of that is that we have so many independents, and that's a response to it. But can I just say this to you, the reason why I wanted to hear your thoughts, because you were right where I thought you were. I want to say to those of you who are watching, because, and you said it right, we are in a two-party system. The third one never matters, but the third one decides who wins out of the two. You have to be careful, and I want everybody to listen to this. I'm not the prophet. You have to be careful, because I'm not going to say between the two devils, because I don't call neither one of them devils. I love Cornell West. I mean, he's a brilliant scholar. I mean, oh my God. I mean, he even know how to talk the talk and he walks the walk. However, he cannot win right now. I agree. We need to work on getting rid of all these parties. But what I'm afraid of is enough of you will vote for him, and Biden will lose, and Trump will get in. Because that's what the scheme is. Not that they set him to do that, but because we understand the system that we're in, if we knew that Cornell could win off of a third system, well, you got two parties, and the third one, he would get huge.
Yeah,
support.
but I think that's your morality, right?
Okay.
And I think for me, I'm not into the vote for the lesser of two evil thing.
Well,
That's
I'm not saying that.
But that's the argument.
But
people
what I'm
give.
scared of.
Vote for the lesser of two
How
evils.
about we not vote then? I would rather not, although I want that neither. You always vote, exercise your right. But if you're going to exercise your right, you have to be careful, because what's happening is it's helping the other team.
That's your perspective.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right now,
I'll
take-
Here's my thing,
Oh,
right?
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to jump in.
If you don't believe in a two-party system, don't be a part of it, right?
Right.
Organize, mobilize, and get out for whatever party you do support, right?
Right.
Because at the end of the day, it will be a party that you support. They were able to do that in Philadelphia with Kendra Brooks,
Okay.
who was
Okay.
just literally a parent advocate who was concerned about what was going on in the schools in Philadelphia. At the time, it was the fifth largest, now it's the sixth largest city in the nation. And they were able to organize and get her elected as a Working Families Party advocate. That has happened in multiple places.
Right.
But you can't just sit on the sideline and complain and say, oh, I don't like that party, I don't like that party.
True.
But then don't work to organize.
Well, I'm
I
a
was
part of
there
the
from
Working
the-
Family Party in Wilmington, Delaware. So I'm a part of it. So I'm a part of conversations with it. And we're trying to figure out now, how do we have a Working Family Party run for the non-Democratic seat on City Council? So those conversations are happening. You just don't have to be, you don't got to be a part of all of them.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, you don't have to be a part of
I'm
it.
saying you don't have to be a part of all of them to know they're not happening. Just the same.
I know they're happening.
Okay.
That's the thing.
I'm like, what?
I'm talking about Philadelphia, but if you want to talk about Delaware, let's talk about Delaware. We've
that
been
conversation is
organizing
happening.
here for a long time. We bought the Working Families Party here years ago with the idea of building that model. We didn't just stand on the sidelines. We bought it here. Now we're breaking it into different subdivisions as well, too. That's all what organizing is about.
And that's
Rolling up your
happening now.
sleeve
So there's
and
not
working.
people just complaining. People are actually doing the work, because that was what he said. People are doing the work, and that's happening now, and conversations are happening now. How do we get a Working Family Party to run for that fourth seat for the at large?
But it's
Really-
not just
really,
about
it's
one party.
forcing.
It's about anyone who feels that way. Working Families Party may not be the party for them. What I'm saying is, if you truly believe like that, if you truly believe that you don't like the two-party system, there are organizations out there willing to help you learn how to organize.
I got you.
Then take that skill and start organizing your community.
Right. Okay. I ain't arguing.
Yeah, so I'm complaining about the two-party system, and I'm doing something about it. So I didn't know if that was shots towards me, but I'm doing something about
But
it
no,
in
I
my
don't-
community.
I don't have to take shots. I would have said, if I was talking about you, I would have said about you.
So-
But the question was, in general, a bunch of people, right? Is that not where the conversation was going?
Okay.
So that's where the conversation was going. That's where I talked about.
Yeah, and I think I was more or less interested in knowing how do we not feed the other group, because right now I would rather have a person who's not doing what they're supposed to be doing other than have a racist in there who will destroy us on the next call.
There's different types of racists.
But there will be, and it's 4 positions on city council for a non-party, because even though you may say the Democratic Party, I think at large, is they
It's
Democratic
one.
seats?
Yeah,
they're
they
all,
are
except
Democrats.
for
Oh,
one.
okay.
Except
Right.
for James Bedola seat, you could be any
Anything,
party.
right,
So
okay.
we're trying to figure that out now. So that
understood.
conversation is happening. So
Okay.
there are people who are actively doing the work in the state of Delaware, in the city of Wilmington, who are a part of those conversations, and I'm a part of that conversation, so I know it's happening.
Gotcha. All right, we'll be right back. And we're back. Well, Brother Kobe, what's going on with the Kobe Corner?
Yeah, so one, I want to start off with some big announcements, right?
Okay.
So this past week, we have seen the announcement for Lieutenant Governor and announcement for U.S. Senate, and it was both
Yes.
by 2 strong black women in the
Yes.
community.
Yay.
So first, Representative Sherry Dorsey Walker, who represents the west side of Wilmington, 3rd District, has announced that she is running again for Lieutenant Governor of Delaware. If elected, she will be the first African-American,
When elected.
period, to hold that position. Yes, when elected.
Yes.
Next is another historic feat in itself.
Yeah.
Currently in America, we've only elected 2 black women to the U.S. Senate.
2.
2. We currently have 2 other people running, one in California, one in Maryland. Their chances are more up in the air. But here in Delaware, our Congresswoman, Lisa Blunt Rochester, announced that she is running for U.S. Senate to replace Tom Carper.
Yeah.
Now, I know Carper kind of hinted at it that she was going to run when he had his press conference about his retirement. But she has officially announced now.
Yeah.
And it seems as though people are coming together and supporting her, building unity around her for this position. Not just in Delaware, but people all across the nation are excited about this run. And I just want to say, as someone who has worked with the Congresswoman, she has been there to support efforts that I believe in, efforts that I've fought for. I think she will be an excellent representative for us in the U.S. Senate. Not knocking anyone else who's there, but I think this is going to be someone who represents our community very well on a federal level.
You worked with her in the congressional. I worked with her when her husband was a very major member of Omega Psi Phi, and when he transitioned suddenly, brothers from all over the country came here, and we did that service. Well, we didn't beam and preach the sermon, but we did the Q service for him. And I met her at that point, and I found her to be a very genuine soul. So I'm looking forward to both women, Lisa Blunt Rochester and Sherry Dorsey. It's going to be on.
And then the last part of that is for governor. County Executive, current Newcastle County Executive Matt Myers has announced for governor. This has kicked off our statewide elections, right? And now you're going to start seeing more people either announce for those seats or announce for lower seats, because it is going to be a lot of openings this go round in 2024. And just to give everyone a quick rundown, there's an open governor, lieutenant governor, Congress, technically U.S. Senate, county exec, county council president. So there is a long list for county council president. Marcus Henry is running, who is a former cabinet member of Matt Myers. And then county council president Karen Hartley Nagel is also running for county executive. So people are announcing now 2024 is going to be a very busy year, and we're going to try to keep you as up to date as possible.
We will definitely do it.
But speaking of voting.
Wait, before you go there, I just want to say, I didn't say anything about my boy Matt. I like Matt. Matt is good. I know everybody got their own opinion.
I love Matt
I'm going to be down with Matt. So I'm sorry to whoever the other person that may want to run against him. I'm going to give everything I have. I'm going to give him a little check, too, to make sure that because he really delivered in a lot of areas. Matt, I'm giving it up to you today. So I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I agree.
I'll use your time to do that.
No, it's fine.
Sorry.
So next, talking about voting, right? And it being so critical. There is a bill currently that allows for LLCs, right, to vote in Delaware municipal elections. And this would be down in Seaford in Sussex, right? It's the bill sponsor is the representative for the area, Danny Short. But this is my issue with it. We are currently fighting to create more access to voting for individuals who've been incarcerated, people who are returning to our society, but yet they want to make it easier for corporations and for corporate people who don't even live in the state to vote.
Yeah, I think you said it backwards, but I got what you're saying. In other words, they spend more time on the people who don't live here than those who should be given a second chance.
Exactly.
Okay.
Now, in some places, like in Rehoboth, we saw this back in 2017, and the residents actually fought back against it. Now, the interesting thing about Rehoboth, you don't have to be a full-time resident to vote there, but they didn't want to let LLCs vote. We have, I think it's like 1.8 million entities here in the state. Everyone files an LLC, right? This legislation it creates the opportunity for double voting for people who live in the community, right? So if you're a resident there and you have an LLC, or maybe you have multiple LLCs, you get multiple votes in an election, especially in smaller elections where it's decided by only a few, dozen votes. It was pulled from the agenda the other day. Hopefully it does not pass the General Assembly, because I think this opens us up to even worse situations when it comes to voting and allowing LLCs to vote. Second, I want to talk about what's going on here in the city of Wilmington. We still have not seen anything done with the ticket process. People are still getting tickets. Literally just the other day, someone got a ticket for $40.
Right.
We have not seen the changes. They came out, had a big press release and everything.
Wasn't there some issues with that?
It is. So they came out and said it was going to be 35, even though in the press release, they have the legislation that said it's going to be 35. Even though in the press release, they told the public it's going to be 25. Either way, it's still 40 today, and it's been months. So I hope City Council acts on that pretty soon.
And did they vote on it?
I don't believe they have voted on the floor. It was pulled.
Oh, so therefore
It
it's
was
not.
pulled off a committee. So Councilmember Maria Cabrera is the sponsor for that piece of legislation. And this part I'm kind of confused about, but originally they said it was going to go down to $25, right? Now it's back to 35. So the original legislation went to 25.
Right.
Then it switched and now it's 35. But she's arguing that it's the administration pushing for that 35. And that's what they want because of the loss of revenue that they're going to see if we go all the way from 40 to 25. However, understanding as a council person how it works, if my legislation is not on the floor and I have my legislation just like some legislations I have today that's with the law department being drafted, I can make any changes I want to that. The administration can't come and say, change Shanae's legislation and do this to it, right? Now, on the floor, City Council can make amendments and say, let's change this, right? So what I'm concerned about is that the alleged thing that the administration changed it to 35 and not her, right? Because that's not how legislation works. And I know exactly how it works because I do it. No one can't make any changes to my legislation. But she's arguing now that the reason why she's having issues is because of the pushback she's getting from the administration on doing 25. So she told us that she's moving it, taking it off the committee, and then she's going to amend it back to 25 because you can do as many amendments as you want to your legislation when it's not on the floor. So she took it off a committee so she can make the amendments, and she says she's going to put it back at 25 and have it on the next meeting.
Okay, we look forward to seeing it.
But we're done. It's summer.
Oh,
we got 2 city council meetings, and unless they schedule like a special committee meeting before our summer break, we're going to have to wait for this until September. I think we come back.
Wow.
So it's going to be another few months wait, right? So
that's your answer. It has not been approved yet.
Oh, I know. And it's sad. It's sad because they definitely capitalized off the attention that was getting around people like Ken Grant, who were advocating for changes in this program and who has been fighting tooth and nail to call them out on what is going on within their systems and the lies that they are putting out there to the public. And again, I know it gets very chaotic, right? But at the end of the day, when you come out and make a public statement stating this is what you're going to do to make the citizens happy, right? You have to follow through and be held accountable for what you're doing. Now, it's hard because you have people, and I'm going to keep saying his name. Ken is the man. Ken is on top of it. But you have to have people on the inside. Again, the person with the legislation has the power as well, too. So do something with that power that you have. Don't just sit on the sidelines.
Gotcha.
Don't just wait and be like, oh, the administration got to give me the okay.
Right.
No,
But
they gave you the okay when they told the voters who voted you in, this is what was happening.
Absolutely. Okay.
My last point today that I want to talk about is what happened out in Newark. A Newark high school student who was graduating, has a 4.0 GPA, going to major in aerospace engineering at the University of Maryland. Mohammed Sangago had just graduated at the Bob at UD. They're outside, the family's there, they gather, they pray. He's Muslim. They do a group prayer. Then after the prayer, or during the prayer, police approach them and telling them they have to disperse. It's unsafe to do that in a parking lot, even though they were properly off to the side and everything, doing the right thing. There's video from people who were there that then shows, individuals going to their cars, including Mohammed going to his cars, and then officers pulling their tasers out and telling him to get out his car. Then grabbing him up, lifting him off the ground, turning him and slamming him back onto the ground.
Oh, wow.
UD puts out a response. UD Police, whose chief is Chief Ogden, puts out a response saying, oh, this wasn't racist. This wasn't biased. This wasn't because they was Muslims. His tires were making noise.
His tires?
His tires were making noise.
Oh, wow.
This is the same police chief, right? Well, first off, this is the same UD president who don't think black people are smart enough to be at his university. This is the same police chief who, again, another black politician, called to support them and attack advocates when trouting police reform, the one that we talked about last week with Cheyenne, HB 205, who said, oh, people just exaggerate police brutality. Oh, they just call it racist because they're minorities. You approach them because they were praying. Then you try to justify your actions by saying the tires were loud and he was resisting arrest. Well, I'm sorry, if you're getting thrown to the ground, how are you resisting arrest prior to that? How are you resisting arrest that makes you come approach me if I'm not under arrest? And this is the issue we keep having here in Delaware. But I guess some of these politicians believe it's just easier to throw bombs at things than actually do work. And at the end of the day, this young man is going to remember this, right? This is going to affect his mental health. This is going to affect him physically. But you have people who say, oh, I support y'all. I got your back. Who are the same ones who are making it harder right now in this state to get access to even see the misconduct like this.
Yeah,
Not even get accountability, but just to see it.
Yeah, I was wondering if there's any footage from anybody else on this.
Oh, they're not going to release the body-worn camera footage.
Okay.
Because the Council on Police Training still hasn't done their job. Because you have people like members of the Legislative Black Caucus who have not done what they're supposed to do, who are willing to take a match-out check and be happy, than actually hold individuals accountable. But see, that's just what we're dealing with here in Delaware. It's the Delaware way.
Yeah, I'm learning that.
And when people speak out about it, then they try to attack you.
Oh, yeah.
They try to come for projects you're working on.
Oh, yeah.
They try to come for your job. They try to get you fired. And that's a sad reality here that people are still fighting against.
Yeah, it's not good. Not good. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to make sure that whatever we do, if we can find a way to get our black organizations, not all of them, just two strong ones, to be able to fight for the people. I'm still going to say the NAACP and clergy. That's what I've always worked. Those are two organizations. I don't want to say Delta Sigma Theta Alpha Phi Alpha and Omega Psi Phi. I don't want to say that. They all are parts of the NAACP. And if the voice mouth of the African American community for decades have been the NAACP.
I agree with that.
And everything derived,
clergy, too.
everything derived out of the church. Now, you didn't have to be a member of the church, but that's where it derived from.
Right.
So that's why I hold those two, saying I hope we just get it right. Because when I'm sitting here listening to this, next week we may have to re-pick this up, because I'm about to do some investigation on that Newark situation, because it troubled me when I saw it, and it troubled me that some of the things that they said, the body-worn cameras and all that stuff, all of those mechanisms have to be handled.
Yep.
So next week, I want to pick back up on it and see where we can get from that. All right. Listen, our show has really been just running into time after time, but I just want to say we're going to be right back. And we're back. I just wanted to close out today's show by continuously reminding you of the case that we broke on this show. It was the case dealing with the Torreses, and we're not going to let it go. The Delaware way, whether it be in the city of Wilmington or in the state, is to just go ahead and allow those black people to wear themselves out, and then they'll forget about it, and we can continue to do what we do. I have vowed that I was going to help this family. This family experienced racism to a high degree. This family was treated wrong. And while the Attorney General have not, as of yet, did anything that we can see to try to relieve them of their anxiety, hurt, and pain that they experience, we're going to stay resolute. This week, we are planning to have a conversation. As a matter of fact, not well, but by the time this airs, we would have already gone to the Attorney General's office as well as to LNI to just sit in there and ask the question, can I speak with the Attorney General? Can we speak with LNI so that we can probably get some answers? I don't want anyone to believe or feel that we're not trying to get the answers. They asked, have patience. They said, make sure that you are doing your due diligence. This is what we're doing now. We're exercising what we call discipline. Because once we start moving, there'll be no discipline. There'll be no wait a minute. We're giving them time. It's been a month now. The police department have certainly made their move. They have submitted to the district attorney's office their findings, and everything indicates that they have found some things that wasn't so kosher. But I don't know the details because they would not release them to me. But the district attorney has to at some point, or should I say, our attorney general. I keep thinking of the district attorney, but really it's the attorney general. The attorney general needs to be able to make a statement. Her office, will you charge this woman with one of these counts or any count for what she's done to this family? We can't just excuse this. She knew better. It's like your children. You know where your children are. You know some of them know better, so if they do certain things, they are dealt with, disciplined appropriately based on their knowledge of what wrong they've done. She knew that she was not going to cross the line into the territory of just outright overt racism and discrimination and intimidation and harassment. So she did a lot of little things to just cut away at them and to cut away at the fiber of them. I want to make sure y'all understand this woman did not know that the camera was there. She screamed up, and you remember while what broke and went almost viral is that her comments. She called him a little piece of the word, and she just went on and on and on, and she delivered on her promises. Her promises that she was going to have the city to come and investigate them. They did. They didn't wait a whole month to do this. They did it immediately because white privilege speaks. People listen. The systems are designed to protect certain people. She knows the law. She serves down in Dover as the lead attorney for the House of Representatives. No, the Speaker of the House, Pete, who I'm told will not be running for at least a speakership, but probably not even for his seat anymore. I guess he can care less. He can care less that a black family have suffered. He could care less because it's not his family. White privilege speaks that way. They don't say it out loud. They just react that way. And I'm not going to let it go. We will every week deal with this issue until it's resolved. This week, we'll come back next week and share with you what are the results of us having a walk-in, an unannounced visit to the Attorney General's office, an unannounced visit to the LNI. These are the next two areas that we have to deal with. Mr. Boykins, why did you allow your people to go and harass this family additionally? What was the claim? Can we see the charges that were levied to cause your people to come out in the middle of the night to investigate whether or not there was running water, to investigate whether or not there was electric? Those things could have been determined without even coming out. You could have known those answers without even coming out, but you all came out because it was a part of the intimidation factor, and we will not let it go. No, this is not an angry black man who just want to have a whole lot to say and scream and holler. No, African American people, we have to stop allowing people to treat us like we're trash. Yes, it is true that some of our leaders in the African American community have sold us out. Yes, it is true. Some of our religious leaders have sold us out. They bought into the chicken dinners. They bought into, oh, well, if you do this, I'll do that, and I'll fund this, and I'll support that, and you just keep your peace and hold your people at bay. Well, I'm not going to be angry and I'm not going to speak loud, but I'm going to make sure that we're clear. There are people who genuinely care about their people. This week at Zion Fair, I will be preaching. As a matter of fact, today, for those of you who are watching this, we would have already preached the message dealing with Speak Up. I'm dealing with Speak Up, and I'm using Esther as my example. Esther, she became queen, and God blessed her. She was a Jew in a Persian empire. That was not even a mixture that should happen. But because the people, the Jewish people, were going to be assassinated, she either could be quiet, sit cozy in her palace, or she can speak up. And did not she get the famous quote, "If I perish, let me perish, but I got to go in and see the king." To all of our African American brothers and sisters who see issue after issue, murder after murder, problem after problem, the setups after setups, and we just permit it, it bothers me. No, we will not always agree on everything. I have issues with some of the comments that people make, and people have issues with some of the comments that I make. But it should not negate the fact that we all have been chosen to represent the voiceless. There are people in our community who do not have a voice to be able to share how their hearts are feeling. You want to know why our test scores are so low? You want to know why our communities are so drug rattled? It's because really there is no hope. The Bible says, without a vision, the people perish. We need vision. We need leadership that will stand and be resolute, not give in, not wait until the next opportunity to jump on another bandwagon. I'm going to try my best to demonstrate, even if nothing happens, we're going to make sure you see the process of agitating a system. If Mr. Pete down at the House of Representatives, if he decide I'm not going to open my mouth, I'm just going to wait my time out because I only got a few more days left, that's his business. But for all of our white brothers and sisters, Cornell West said this, for all of our white brothers and sisters who sit back and do nothing, let me quote Dr. King, the only thing for evil to prevail is for good people to sit back and say nothing. We must speak up. What you saw is what you got. This family was disrespected. This family was harassed. This family was racially profiled, called a rodent. This is wrong. And I know we can hear people saying, well, why don't you just let it go, let it go. Someone even said to me, Pastor, you all about redemption. Why don't you just forgive? And I had to remind you that forgiveness is about turning. When you forgive someone, someone has to participate in the process. This woman has not done anything to show her remorse. And we should not have to always be the one who is expected to forgive. We do wrong, sure, we're sorry, but we still have to pay the cost. I am very concerned, and I'm going to continue to speak in the manner in which I'm speaking, while I may be out on an island all by myself with just this family. Now, there are those who did say, because I don't want to ever be disrespectful or arrogant. There are those who said, Pastor Curry, what do you need me to do? And I told them we're going to wait to get responses. I am very grateful for Mouse and for Jay Street and many other politicians, but I'm careful with names today. I'm very grateful for them. They have worked hard up and down this state trying to combat some of the racism and discrimination that is going on. I'm very grateful for them. While there are other African Americans who are enriching themselves, making sure they have their pockets lined with the money that has been given to them, as I call the deadly poison. But regardless of whether you have the strong people who want to see change in the African American community, or those who do not seek any change for the African American community, but for themselves, somebody has to stand in the gap. And the Therez's family have been treated wrong. They had to go out and prove that this woman was a tyrant. They had to go out and prove that this woman was a racist. They had to go out and prove that this woman was harassing them. They had to go out and prove that this woman treated them as if they were less than. To all of you who watch me every week, I see you all over the place. You tell me you're watching. It's time for us to start reacting. It's time for us to push our leaders to come out of the closet. We have too many closet supporters. They support you in private, but afraid to do it in public. We have to speak up. And listen, it's costing me a whole lot to do what I do. There are people who try to tear up my program, who tries to find ways to block me. And you've heard me use Hanifa Shabazz's name quite often, who is a part of the African American community. But you hear me talk her name a lot because I know all the plots. She has connections in different areas because she's a part of their handpick. But I do not ever stop because I know she's out to block me, out to make sure I get nothing. You saw what she did with Trippy Congo. The man is in charge of the city council. The has no power. She did that because this is what they do when you don't go along with their agenda. So we have these segments in the African American community, but somebody, all of us who support the advancement of the African American community and the Latino community agenda, we have to stand up. We have to speak up. And if I have to be, if you have to be, if we have to be the sacrificial lamb, then let us be that. But what we cannot do is we cannot sit back and allow another issue to occur. Because the point will come, and I will close on this, there will come a point where something will happen and we won't be able to control the outcome. We won't be able to control how people react. You remember when George Floyd was killed by that police officer, every white politician was asking all the blacks, how do we keep the people calm? And while we were able to tame ourselves, there will be a moment when no one will be listening because we have not been heard. I hope you really hear my words today. I chose not to be emotional. I chose not to be loud, but I wanted to make sure every person who hears me hear this carefully. There will be a moment when talking will cease. I hope and trust that the city, L&I, will respond in a positive way. I hope and trust that the Speaker of the House or the representatives that are down there will respond in a positive way. And most definitely, I hope and trust that our Attorney General will get off the seat of do nothing and respond in a positive way. What was done to this family should not have been done to even an animal. It's not right, and somebody has to speak up. Until the next time we get together, God bless you real good. We're back, and I want to thank everybody who has taken time to be with us today. I hope what we just shared with you regarding the Therese family you will take to heart. Until the next time, this is Dr. Curry.
This is Kobe Owen.
Shanae Darby.
See ya.
Take care, y'all.
Talk soon.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of The Source. Be sure to tune in next Sunday at 5 p.m.